It's 10:47 p.m. You've just finished unpacking the last box in your new home. The neighborhood looked peaceful when you visited. Tree-lined streets, friendly faces, a decent price. It seemed like the perfect place to start over. Then you hear it. Sirens. Not one, not two, several. They scream through the night and disappear into the darkness. You shrug it off. Every city has emergencies, right? But over the next few weeks, you begin to notice things. The neighbor who warns you not to walk alone after sunset. The streets locals avoid after dark. The flood signs marking how high the water reached during the last storm. The abandoned buildings. The stories. And then suddenly, the place that looked so welcoming starts to reveal a side that wasn't listed in the real estate brochure. Because danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides behind affordable housing. Sometimes it arrives with a hurricane. Sometimes it's found in crime statistics. And sometimes it's woven into the everyday reality of a community. North Carolina is home to some of America's most beautiful landscapes, thriving cities, and fastest-growing communities. But not every corner of the state offers the same sense of safety. Today, we're uncovering the most dangerous places in North Carolina, areas where crime, natural disasters, economic struggles, and other hidden risks have made life more challenging than many outsiders realize. Some of the places on this list may surprise you. Others have earned a reputation that residents know all too well. So, before you decide where to live, visit, or invest in North Carolina, watch this video to the end so you'll know the areas you're meant to avoid. Let's begin with 1. Lumberton. For years, crime has been one of Lumberton's biggest challenges, and this isn't just a recent problem. Now picture this. You're settling into what seems like an ordinary town. The streets don't look much different from countless other communities across America. Kids are heading to school, people are going to work, and local businesses are opening their doors for the day. But then you start digging a little deeper. Year after year, Lumberton has appeared near the top of crime rankings in North Carolina. In recent FBI crime data, residents faced violent crime rates several times higher than the national average, while property crimes such as burglary, theft, and vehicle break-ins remained a persistent concern. To put that into perspective, in a single recent year, the city recorded hundreds of violent crimes, including assaults, robberies, and homicides, along with nearly 2,000 property crimes. That's a staggering number for a city with fewer than 20,000 residents. And for many locals, the statistics aren't just numbers on a chart. They're the reason some residents think twice before walking alone at night. They're the reason business owners invest heavily in security measures. And they're the reason newcomers often hear warnings about which parts of town to avoid after dark. But crime doesn't exist in a vacuum. Many residents and observers point to a deeper issue: poverty. For decades, Lumberton has struggled with economic hardship, limited opportunities, and the decline of industries that once supported local families. As jobs disappeared and investment slowed, many of the social problems that often accompany economic decline became harder to ignore. Unfortunately, just when residents think they've caught a break, nature often delivers another challenge. In 2016, Hurricane Matthew brought devastating floods that stranded residents, damaged homes, and changed entire neighborhoods almost overnight. Then, only 2 years later, Hurricane Florence threatened the city once again, reminding residents that in Lumberton, danger doesn't always come from crime. It can also rise with the water. And that's what makes Lumberton stand out on this list. For many communities, one major challenge is enough. But in Lumberton, residents have spent years confronting a difficult combination of crime, poverty, and recurring natural disasters all at the same time. Following on the list is 2. Folly Beach. At first glance, Folly Beach feels like the kind of place people dream about. The sound of waves, ocean views, warm sunsets. The kind of place where you can imagine yourself spending every evening with your feet in the sand and not a worry in the world. Now picture this. You've finally found your perfect beach home. Every morning starts with a view of the Atlantic Ocean. Friends and family can't stop telling you how lucky you are. Then hurricane season arrives. Suddenly, the weather forecast becomes the first thing you check every morning. A storm forming hundreds of miles away no longer feels like someone else's problem. It's your problem. And that's one of the biggest risks of living in Folly Beach. Unlike many places on this list, the danger here isn't what happens on the streets, it's what comes in from the ocean. Over the years, Folly Beach has faced powerful hurricanes, storm surges, and coastal flooding that have damaged homes, flooded roads, and forced residents to prepare for evacuation on short notice. In some cases, a beautiful beach day can be replaced by emergency warnings in a matter of hours. And even when there isn't a major hurricane, the ocean is constantly reshaping the coastline. Erosion has become an ongoing concern, with some areas losing valuable beachfront land over time. But perhaps the most surprising challenge is the cost. Living near the beach sounds amazing until you start paying for it. Property prices, insurance premiums, maintenance costs, and storm-related repairs can quickly add up. What seems like paradise on vacation can become a very expensive reality when you live there year-round. That's what makes Folly Beach unique on this list. Number 3 on the list is Pembroke. If you've ever dreamed of escaping the noise of big cities, Pembroke might sound like the perfect place. No endless traffic jams, no crowded streets, no towering skyscrapers. Just a quiet town where life seems to move at its own pace. Sounds peaceful, right? Well, now picture this. You're driving through Pembroke for the first time. The streets seem calm. People are going about their day. Nothing immediately feels out of place. In fact, if you were just passing through, you'd probably never guess that this small town consistently struggles with one of the highest crime rates in the country. And that's what makes Pembroke so surprising. With a population of less than 3,000 people, it's the kind of place where you'd expect everyone to know everyone. Yet despite its small size, crime remains one of the town's biggest challenges. Recent figures put the crime rate at roughly 8,850 incidents per 100,000 residents, high enough to place Pembroke among the most crime-affected communities in America. But crime is only part of the story. Pembroke is known as the heart of the Lumbee people, the largest Native American tribe east of the Mississippi River. Around 66,000 Lumbee call North Carolina home, and unlike many Native American tribes across the country, the Lumbee do not have a federally recognized reservation. Instead, Pembroke serves as the cultural center of their community and heritage. Yet despite this rich history, many residents face economic realities that are hard to ignore. The typical annual income sits at just under $26,000 a year. Break that down, and you're looking at roughly $500 a week before taxes. For many families, that's simply not much room to breathe, and the effects can be seen throughout the community. Nearly 4 out of every 10 residents live below the poverty line. Among children, that number is even higher. For many families, financial hardship isn't a temporary setback, it's a daily reality. What's interesting, though, is that Pembroke isn't especially expensive. In fact, the cost of living is well below the national average. Housing costs are particularly affordable, with home values averaging around $129,000. On paper, that sounds like a bargain. But affordability doesn't always equal opportunity, because even when homes are cheaper, it can be difficult to get ahead when wages remain low and economic opportunities are limited. And that's what makes Pembroke different from many of the places on this list. The danger here isn't immediately visible. It isn't the kind of place that shocks you the moment you arrive. Instead, it's a town where high crime, persistent poverty, and limited economic opportunities quietly shape everyday life for many residents. From the outside, Pembroke may appear peaceful and welcoming. But for those who call it home, the challenges often run much deeper than first impressions suggest. Number 4 town on our list is Fayetteville. Fayetteville, a city with a very different story, but one that comes with its own set of risks and surprises. If there were ever a city that could be described as having 2 completely different personalities, it would be Fayetteville. On one hand, it's a city built on service, sacrifice, and military pride. On the other, it's a city that has spent decades battling a reputation it just can't seem to shake. Now picture this. You're driving into Fayetteville for the first time. American flags wave in the distance. Military vehicles are a common sight. Veterans, active duty soldiers, and military families are everywhere. It doesn't take long to realize that this isn't just another North Carolina city. Fayetteville is home to Fort Bragg, one of the largest and most important military installations in the world. Thousands of soldiers pass through the city every year, and the base contributes billions of dollars to the local economy. For many people, Fayetteville is known as the home of the legendary 82nd Airborne Division and the U.S. Army's Special Operations Command. In many ways, the city's identity is inseparable from the military, but that's also where some of its challenges begin. For decades, Fayetteville has carried the nickname Fayettenham, a name that emerged during the Vietnam War era, when tens of thousands of soldiers trained at Fort Bragg before deploying overseas. During that period, the city experienced rising crime, drug problems, and social tensions that attracted national attention. And over the years, several high-profile incidents have kept Fayetteville in the headlines. One of the most infamous was the 1970 Fort Bragg murder case involving Army Dr. Jeffrey McDonald, a crime that later inspired the best-selling book and television miniseries Fatal Vision. The city has also seen other nationally reported crimes and controversies, adding to its complicated reputation. Yet here's what makes Fayetteville so fascinating. Talk to one resident and they'll tell you it's one of the most patriotic cities in America. Talk to another and they'll tell you stories about crime, struggling neighborhoods, and problems that have existed for generations. And strangely enough, both can be right. Because Fayetteville isn't a city that's easy to summarize. It's a place where military heroes and everyday families live side by side. A city with deep historical roots, a powerful military presence, and enough challenges to keep it regularly appearing in discussions about North Carolina's most troubled urban areas. That's what makes Fayetteville unique on this list. It isn't dangerous because of a hurricane. It isn't dangerous because of poverty alone. It's dangerous because it's a city where opportunity and risk have been growing side by side for decades. And if you think Fayetteville's story is surprising, wait until you see the next place on our list. Number 5. Laurinburg. If you were asked to picture a dangerous city, Laurinburg probably wouldn't be the first place that comes to mind. After all, we're talking about a small North Carolina town with a population of only around 14,000 people. Tree-lined streets, quiet neighborhoods. Not exactly the image most people associate with crime, but that's what makes Laurinburg so surprising. On an ordinary day, a drive through Laurinburg would give little indication of the challenges the city faces. In fact, if nobody told you otherwise, you might easily assume it's one of the safest communities in the state. Unfortunately, the numbers tell a very different story. According to recent FBI crime data, Laurinburg recorded approximately 1,040 crimes in a single year. That translates to nearly 6,936 crimes per 100,000 residents, more than double the national average. The city also recorded a violent crime rate of about 1,894 incidents per 100,000 people, and a property crime rate exceeding 5,000 per 100,000 residents. To put that into perspective, your statistical chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime in Laurinburg is roughly 1 in 53. For property crime, it's about 1 in 20. And here's where things get even more surprising. Among those reported crimes were 9 murders, 24 robberies, 240 aggravated assaults, 244 burglaries, and 62 vehicle thefts in a city with fewer than 15,000 residents. That is why Laurinburg often ranks among the least safe communities in North Carolina. But crime isn't the only challenge facing the city. Like several communities in this part of the state, Laurinburg has spent years dealing with economic struggles, population decline, and limited job opportunities. Many younger residents leave in search of better prospects elsewhere, while those who remain often face financial challenges that have become deeply rooted over generations. Community discussions from residents frequently mention poverty, addiction issues, and a lack of economic opportunities as ongoing concerns. And yet, despite all of this, Laurinburg isn't a ghost town. People still raise families there. Businesses still operate. Schools still open their doors every morning, which is exactly what makes the city so difficult to understand. As we bring this video to a close, here's one final reminder. Danger doesn't always look the way you'd expect. Sometimes it's crime. Sometimes it's poverty. And sometimes, it's the forces of nature. But if there's one lesson to take away from today's countdown, it's this. Before deciding where to live, visit, or invest, always look beyond first impressions. What appears safe on the surface may tell a very different story once you take a closer look. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button right below, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more fascinating insights into cities, towns, and places across America. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.